Good morning. My name is Robert Bell. I'm the Executive Director of the Society of Satellite Professionals and also of the World Teleport Association. And I'd like to welcome you to the Content Distribution Forum. It's produced every year here by SSPI and WTA, in cooperation, of course, with the National Association of Broadcasters. From Monday through Wednesday, we will be presenting 12 panel sessions on the business and technology of content distribution. And perhaps I should say the technology and business of content distribution, because what we're really trying to do here is illustrate the ways in which changes in technology and practice are fundamentally reshaping the business models. And so we're going to be covering everything from traditional broadcasting to IPTV, triple play to mobile video. And then on Thursday we'll be providing playback of the most popular sessions of the prior 3 days right here on the screen. The program is made possible by the sponsorship of some leading companies in our business. They include Intelsat, which is the world's largest satellite carrier, Inmarsat, a global leader in mobile satellite services, Umbrato Systems, which offers video processing solutions for HD broadcast cameras and tapeless studios, and, of course, Cisco Systems, provider of video, IPTV, cable, content delivery solutions, and a whole lot else around the world. And I also want to thank PSSI Global Services for providing live and recorded video coverage of the forum, which is available right now in streaming format and will also be available throughout the year on the websites of WTA and SSPI. And if you're interested in knowing any more about those organizations, there's literature in that rack at the back of the forum. So, without further ado, we're here to talk about digital news gathering, LUCMA No Satellite, and I'm pleased to introduce, page down, your moderator, John Stoltz, Business Development for GMPCS. John?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to also introduce my panelists here that I think are going to really represent this session, which is LUCMA No Satellite, but most people here are focused in the satellite business, so that's just a catchy title. But I've asked them to talk about how the services and products that they offer apply to the broadcast news market. And so I have a few slides of my own, and then I'm going to hand it over to everybody else. It's going to be real loose, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to just raise your hand, and we can do that throughout the session. But I would like to thank, as Robert already mentioned, the WTA and the SSPI and also NAB organizations for hosting and sponsoring this event. Again, my name is John Stoltz, and this session is Digital News Gathering, LUCMA No Satellite. Basically, I've broken it down into kind of some areas that I wanted to throw out as far as kind of general areas of content and what we expect now as viewers, as what is broadcast quality. There always used to be this standard definition of what everyone expected to see on television from a day-to-day basis, and typically that was your old MPEG-2 5 megabit what you'd see and have seen for the last few decades on television. But now with the new ways of gathering news out there in many different formats, I've broken it down to basically what I feel are three different classifications or expectations. Now with high definition, all the networks and channels out there that are going to high definition already are high definition or in the process of going high definition. Obviously that's where we'd all like to be in every type of medium we're delivering content. But it's very difficult to do that in some regards. It's a very large capital investment to get this gear and equipment in place. It takes a lot of bandwidth and a lot of investment to deliver HD to the viewers out there. You cannot also have as a news gatherer, you can't have HD trucks everywhere. It's just not possible to afford to have dozens of HD trucks where you could have a few SD trucks in the past. You can't deliver that everywhere. So this brings us to other forms of delivery, and that would be IP video and your traditional standard definition video, your traditional way of gathering news. And I think where this goes is also to what this panel session is about, is newer things, newer technologies, things we're seeing out there when there's an event, a disaster, a terrorist attack, or a catastrophe in some way, whether it's trains in London or we are acceptable with YouTube video out there. We can deal with broadband quality video. We will tolerate it because it's something to deliver. It's new content. So there are a lot of different things. Skype video that is delivered video, Slingbox, BGAN, any way you can deliver lower quality video. So there's bandwidth and cost requirements to each one of these, and obviously broadband video, you've got citizen news journalists out there who can deliver it basically free. And the HD, as I mentioned before, is a lot more costly to deliver these things. So, as I mentioned earlier, that high definition, you've got the HD trucks, you've got large terrestrial fiber. The price of fiber is coming down, so it's becoming more easy to deliver. Breaking news is very difficult to deliver in HD. And so, if you have planned events, such as a sporting event or a special event like an election or inauguration, you've got plenty of time to plan and get that infrastructure. But other events are not so easy to deliver this. So, I talk about this second category, and there are a lot of new IP encoders out there, Slingbox being one of them, that allow you to deliver in many different formats, from broadband to HD. And there are a lot of new IP-based satellite modems out there from Comtech and iDirect, and our panelists here will speak to those, that offer IP to, say, sat trucks, just for basic comms. Not necessarily delivering of live video, but that's coming as well. And then finally, I think the newer, smaller, lighter ways of delivering content is the broadband and mobile applications. And these would vary from, Inmarsat BGAN, when you don't have cellular or other ways to get it. New comms on the move technologies, the mobile applications, being able to deliver video on the move, whether that's to a hurricane or in a war, or actually delivering satellite while moving in a vehicle. Also, there's laptop news gathering, so people can be sitting, just have a Wi-Fi connection and stream video back to a news studio. And a lot of these people can talk about this, and I'm not going to take a lot of their times, but I think the interesting part is how citizens or citizen journalists are now being able to report news. Whether it's a little news clip or just a still image off a camera phone, we're getting a lot different types of ways to contribute content to news coverage, and I think that's very exciting. So I'm going to kind of hand it over to my panel now to each kind of give a little bit of how their products and service apply to this area. And with that, I think I'll start with Mr. August. We'll go alphabetically, if that's okay, and by surname. So Frank, if you wouldn't mind. So, just to kind of give you a little bit about Frank, Frank manages land, mobile, and maritime business and in the Americas. He had 18 years. He's held account management position, market sector development across maritime and land mobile businesses, initially with Inmarsat in London, and now he heads out of Washington, D.C. and handles the Americas. Frank comes from the Merchant Marines in New York, and he spent a lot of time there. He's a graduate of Penn State University, and he formerly was with Sperry Marine Systems and Comtech Mobile Communications, and now he's the Director of Business Development for Inmarsat Systems. So I will hand it with further ado over to Mr. Frank August.
Thanks, John. Thanks very much. Good morning, everyone. Inmarsat is all about satellites, so we definitely have satellites in our business. We've been in business for 30 years, and about 3 years ago, we launched a service called Broadband Global Area Network, the short BGAN. what I wanted to tell you about was what BGAN is doing in the market for satellite news gathering, how it's being used, for those of you who may not be familiar, and then tell you about a new service we just launched yesterday that makes BGAN, we believe, more important and more valuable of a consideration to satellite news gathering organizations around the world. So first of all, BGAN, or Broadband Global Area Network, is really offering several different services all out of the same small compact device. The first is voice. Make a voice call, plain old vanilla voice. But the key is to the satellite news gathering industry is the ability of having a IP connection up to 492 kilobits per second from just about anywhere in the world. So your news crews can be out there in the middle of nowhere or at the edge of somewhere, really, and have connections to the internet, connections to their email. They can send video files and video clips, so store and forward video, and very importantly, in the world of live news gathering, they can set up a streaming IP connection so that they can get a guaranteed bitrate service up to 256 kilobits per second just about anywhere in the world. And of course, the key thing here is it's a guaranteed bitrate service. So you know when you set your encoders, some of which John mentioned, you set them at a certain rate. You're trying to, of course, compress and encode. And with a guaranteed bitrate service, you know you're getting 256 kilobits per second, and it's not going to fluctuate as, well, for instance, your air cards, where a lot of broadcasters are trying to use the 3G networks, and they should do, but those services aren't always going to provide a guaranteed bitrate service. So with BGAN streaming IP, it does. And finally, the last service is simple, plain old SMS texting, which sometimes has an interesting value. So that's what BGAN is in a nutshell. We've had the service out for about 3 years. It's a global service now. We finished our constellation so that now we're covering the Pacific Rim, the eastern part of Australia, and most portions of Alaska. So we've got a global network, which is the next slide. So we cover just about all the parts of the world, meaning that you can have a BGAN terminal, again, about as big as a laptop, and I left mine at my tent, so apologies, just about so big. And you can take it with you. You can set it up here in Las Vegas or in Chicago, and then take it anywhere in the world, and it's going to operate the same way. So really key for your news teams to be able to have one network and one system. Simple diagram of what it looks like. Again, it's two networks in one. It's an IP network and it's a circuit switched network. So IP as in standard IP up to 492 kilobits per second, and then the streaming IP, and then a circuit switched ISDN for some of the models, as well as voice. So in a nutshell, it's a mobile office allowing news teams to be able to communicate prior to and during a particular operation, and then run the news from the BGAN terminal. Before I get to the news that we announced yesterday, I just want to tell you a few more little things. One is this is a small little software bit that is downloaded to the local laptop. So we call it Launchpad, and it basically allows you to control your BGAN and decide what you want to do with it. I'm going to make a voice call. I'm going to send a clip in advance of going live with a talking heads shot. So it allows you to go from one to the other. And the key to our service is it's an on-demand service. So you really go out there in the field and you use what you need. You use the various capabilities of it on the shoot, and then you shut down and you're finished. So you pretty much on demand choose which service you need for the task at hand. And basically this is just a simple obvious rendition. You can send photos, photojournalism, you can send your clips in advance, of obviously any kind of clip, and John mentioned HD, so there's no reason why you can't send an HD clip. It just takes a couple more minutes to send because the file is going to be much bigger, but we're not afraid of HD, and I'll bring up at the end of my conversation a point about what we're doing with HD Live, which is sort of interesting. So different flavors of how the media might use BGAN and are using it today. So what we launched yesterday to begin service over EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, Asia satellite, covering a bit of Brazil, but mostly east, is a service that we call BGAN Extreme. BGAN Extreme provides streaming IP, again, a guaranteed bit rate service up to 384 kilobits per second, so it's 50% faster than the previous 256 service. But the extreme part is that we're not going to limit the channel to 384. We have a channel set up on our satellites that is greater than 384, and so we're going to let the user take whatever the local conditions will allow that user to take. So, for instance, in a good location, the user may get 400 kilobits per second. We're not going to prevent that. We're not going to lock it down to 384. Our tests have shown that the users could get possibly 450 kilobits per second. So what we're doing is offering a service that we will provide 384 as the floor, but the upper end of that service will vary based upon local conditions, and that's really what the news teams want. The more guaranteed bitrate service they can get, the more flexibility they have in the motion of the video, the panning. They're just going to get a better quality shot. And important to them and to us to use it more often, to use it where they might say, okay, well, BGAN at 400 kilobits per second is what we've seen in this area, let's go with it. Leave the truck in the garage, that sort of thing. Or extending their BGAN equipment portfolio to be able to capture more places. BGANs and be able to send them at 400 kilobits per second, 384, 450, whatever that particular variation brings them. There are two terminals, the largest Class 1 terminals, that will provide the BGAN Extreme service, because we're really right at the edge of the capabilities of this small compact unit to communicate at these speeds. So it's the largest of the BGAN terminals, again, as big as a laptop terminal, that only need a firmware upgrade. Just a software upgrade is all they need. There's no external antenna. There's no new equipment to buy. So for all of our current BGAN customers and for our BGAN channel, there's no new, there's not a lot of work to be able to offer a higher bit rate service. So the benefits, the improved video, allowing it to be really more appropriate and used more for more news shots. Single device, again, no extra equipment, and it's easy to use. I was out with one of my colleagues shooting some live shots from Hoover Dam yesterday using a manually set up service, because we don't have the service here in the Americas. It will be available in June. And we had a call from our colleagues at our Inmarsat tent out here in the outdoor exhibit area, and they said, we have a customer and they want to see a demo right now. So I didn't hit the brakes immediately, but I found the first place to stop, and we were up in 5 minutes. We were up, antenna on, lined up to the satellite. We are on the air in 5 minutes. So it's that easy to use for this market. So this is, I'll just, if Rob Bishop is around, I'll blame this on him. These are his 4 slides. BGAN Extreme. We offered a 128K service. That was our old heritage with a GAN service, and 2 GANs bonded together would give you 128, which was good in its day. 256 is what we offer now with BGAN. The Class 1 terminals, again, the larger of the Hughes and the Toronto terminals, offer the 256. So that's what everyone has been using up until yesterday. And now 384 is the point where 50% faster. We see more opportunities for news teams to use BGAN, even if they're in the edge of a built-up area. They know they can get that guaranteed bitrate service. Their news teams can have a BGAN in the car with their camera. They're on the air in 5 minutes. It's really the ability of gathering that breaking news in more places, more times. And Rob had to really go up to the 450 here. So the picture gets only better. With 450 kilobits per second, you can obviously see the advantages of being able to gather news from just about anywhere in the world at a really high guaranteed bitrate speed. So that's my contact information. I think I've covered BGAN Extreme. Again, we'll be offering it in the Americas, the rest of the world at the end of June. So everyone here in this area will be able to use it, but currently it's operational as of yesterday in Europe, Middle East, Asia, Africa. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Frank. It's good to know that Inmarsat's putting the red line, topping out on its bandwidth and giving us as much as we can out of these small laptop-sized terminals. Next, I'm actually going to go to Fred Moore. Fred Morris is, whoops, sorry. Technical difficulty there. Comtech. So Fred is Vice President of Global Sales Engineering and also the General Manager of Comtech EF Data, Vipersat Network Products Group. In a former role, he was responsible for the technical solutions for Comtech data customers. In the latter role, he's responsible for leading the market and technical development of Comtech Vipersat products. During his career, Fred has had various senior business development and technical marketing positions. Prior to joining Comtech, he was Vice President of Product Management and Development at Intelsat, one of our sponsors here today. He's also been the Vice President of Product Management and Sales Support Engineering at Veristar. His extensive experience also includes senior level positions in product management and business development for SES, Americom, Viacast, and Hughes Network Systems. Fred holds a BSEE degree from the University of Connecticut and MS in Technology Management from the University of Maryland. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Fred Morris with Comtech EF Data.
Thanks, John, and good morning. So when I first was thinking about the presentation here, I thought, no satellite? Does that mean we go back to this? And I don't think really that's what we have in mind, but what it really is all about is compression. And it's compression for a number of reasons that we have to look at that. It's because there's economic and time constraints. As Frank was talking about, with the importance of being able to get to a shot set up immediately. And in every company right now, all CapEx and OpEx, it's scrutinized. Every dollar is looked at, every dollar of spend is looked at. You need a reliable video delivery where you want to have equipment costs that are really a fraction of what you used to pay for. You want to be able to reduce that OpEx on the satellite because though the satellite operators are our friends, it costs money to be on those satellites. And also, and probably most importantly, it's simplify the technology so that the setup on site is easy and quick. You want to be able to do it and maybe even reduce the number of people that get to a site to set up a shot. There are solutions at hand that do this, that provide these cost reductions. And they also give the additional benefits of live video transmission even when vehicles are in motion. So where is this all coming from? There's advances in 3 technologies: video encoding, satellite antenna design, and satellite modem modulation and bandwidth control. So in video encoding, what's going on there? Well, John brought up one device that is you'll hear about here. There's both standard and proprietary MPEG-4 algorithms that are used for contribution. And what does that mean? That means that you can go with a digital MPEG-2, get that quality of MPEG-2 at 2 megabit encoding when you're only using 768 kilobits of bandwidth with MPEG-4. So there's a tremendous amount of compression that's going on there. In the standard environment, this is an example. NVIVIO has a video encoder that can provide both MPEG-2 and MPEG-4 encoding, and it has an IP transport interface. So that's probably the most important part and the most consistent part here. You've got IP is taken over on this side of the of video. Slingbox, they have a proprietary MPEG-2 and MPEG-4 encoding, which means Slingbox works with Slingbox. It doesn't play well with others, but it gives you better performance than the standard MPEG-2 and MPEG-4. in terms of the amount of bandwidth that's required to be able to push the same amount of video. And then it too has an IP transport interface. Now on satellite antennas, the direction that's happening here is that the antennas are going to low profile, meaning really smaller auto-pointing satellite antennas. The idea that with some of them, you can actually transmit and you can remain locked on the satellite when you've got the vehicle in motion. So that's 300 kilometers per hour. That's faster than any reasonable truck that you'd want to be in. You could do it from trains, and indeed that does. These are where services to trains come from, using these types of antennas. They can be mounted on really small vehicles, like SUVs, not on trucks, not on what we used to have for large trucks, or the kind of trucks that you see out here in between the South Hall and here. And they support both on-the-move and stationary use. So some examples of that. To the left, a company called Raysat, Raysat Antenna Systems. Raysat does that antenna for trains, but they're also into doing this for SNG. The company in the middle, ThinCom, has a even lower profile antenna than that of Raysat, and they actually are. They came from the government side, building for a lot of military applications, but they've since gone into a consumer device, which is what's shown there. And the unique thing about them is that they don't have just one antenna. They've got two, one to transmit, one to receive. That's those two dots that you see there, those two circles. And then, of course, there's Inmarsat, and that's ubiquitous. You can't get more ubiquitous than Inmarsat for data service worldwide. Now, in satellite modem technologies, there's DVB-S2, which gives you a gain over the old DVB-S, about 30% more throughput. That's an average, but that's pretty good, saving on that throughput, so that means saving money. There's new technology called carrier-in-carrier, gives you even more compression there, where you're actually transmitting at two locations. You're transmitting on the same frequency, and instead of being canceled out, you're reducing it. You're canceling it out at each remote site, so you're able to get the benefit of that throughput and less bandwidth. There's higher order modulation, so that means that the way that you're transmitting, now we're all the way up into exotic stuff that used to be considered exotic, like 32 APSK. The modems are all IP enabled, so that means that you're looking at quality of service and compression on the IP header and payload itself, which gives you more compression overall on transmit. And there's the concept of using shared pools of bandwidth in a multiple SNG vehicle environment. And that is where my company comes in. We've used this ViperSat management system, and that provides this the management of the carriers. There's a company out in the center here between the halls called OnCall, and they use this for their switching technologies. It's all IP based. It sets up the carriers for the size when you need them. When you don't need them anymore, drops that bandwidth back into a pool for reuse by any other location. So you don't wind up setting up fixed capacity and not using it. So, in summary, the commercial availability of these technologies, they provide CapEx and OpEx savings to the broadcaster. You can get video live from a moving platform with them. And also the transmission of field-produced video is possible too, so that if you've shot the video and want to send it while you're racing back to the station, you can do it, send it as a file. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Fred. Next, I'd like to introduce Bruce Serena, who is the Global Account Manager for iDirect Technologies. Bruce joined iDirect in December of 2002, and he brings more than 28 years in account management. Prior to iDirect, Bruce worked for March Networks, Sedona Networks, Bridgewater Systems, Spider Systems, and Newbridge Networks. Bruce holds a Bachelor of Science degrees also from the University of Maryland. We got a little Terrapin connection here. Next I'd like to introduce Mr. Bruce Serena.
Hey, thank you, John. I appreciate the invite to talk on the panel today, and welcome to all of you. The iDirect is very well known in the data world, if you would, the broadband IP. We are one of the leaders in that area, but in the video world, it's not as well known. So I wanted to show one slide just on iDirect and who we are, so you have appreciation for what we're able to add value to the SNG world. And starting at the bottom, if you start with your applications, a variety of applications, they all talk into one of our remote routers. So we've been able to integrate the satellite electronics, the routing function, the QoS mechanism, all into a single box, which then talks over the air to the hub that sits at a teleport. So we have a single hub infrastructure that we've developed, able to handle multiple technologies. So you have your typical star, your star mesh, your SCPC, and now DVB-S2 with ACM functions all in the same hub, which then report up to a single network management system. So it makes the ability to launch multiple applications, multiple technologies out of a single platform. What we're here today to talk about is the SNG and the ability and the challenges of the news collection. We're finding that the news collection teams are constantly required to be more mobile. They need to get to various sites as quickly as possible. They need to be very responsive in their ability to get there and get the satellite feed fired up. And they also have to be very well connected, just as if they're in a remote office somewhere. So it doesn't matter that they're out on site with no terrestrial connectivity, but they have to be able to handle all their back office infrastructure. They need to check emails. They need to send IP video and all the different applications from this very remote, in most cases, some very remote sites. So the challenges that they face in being able to do this is the variety of bandwidth requirements that they need. So on some sites you may need a very small amount, other sites you need even more. And again, we're not looking at transmitting the bulk video that's going back for the news feed, but we're concentrating on those IP applications that are important from the field. So we have the ability to support all the office applications, the email, the web surfing. We get into Wi-Fi applications at the truck, and the equipment has to be now more than just transportable, but it truly has to be mobile. So we're dealing with comms on the pause, comms on the move. As Fred has mentioned in his presentation, he had quite a few pictures of the various changes that are going on in the SNG truck area. So what we're trying to do is provide full IP connectivity in the field to these trucks. So you need to be able to support your video over IP, your voice over IP, and the internet connectivity at the truck site. We've also enhanced that to have the ability of the truck to actually be able to form very quickly, fire up a Wi-Fi hotspot in the area so that others in the area, others that are on site, can take advantage of that bulk capacity going through the SNG's service provider. So, and as I mentioned earlier, you need to be able to tie in all your corporate infrastructure just as if you were sitting at a remote office of the company. To show you an application of what we're looking at, this is what ABC News via the Intelsat VNO model was able to establish for their trucks. So you have a multiple set of trucks in the field being able to go on site at any time. Our technology allows a shared technology, so your bandwidth costs are reduced in that you don't have to dedicate bandwidth to each truck, whether it's in use or not. Whatever trucks are live and active at the time, you can dedicate amounts of bandwidth to them so that they can function. You'll also see the transportable antenna in the middle. Again, as our friends at Comtech had showed, antenna technology is changing rapidly. Antennas are getting smaller and smaller. You have the ability to carry them with you on airplanes, trains, or whatever, and very quickly fire them up onto different satellites. And again, this was done via the Intelsat VNO model that allows you to very inexpensively become a service provider and not have to buy your own hub equipment, transponders worth of capacity. We can start out in very small increments down to 256K. So it's a very easy way to get into the service providing business. You can see the size of SNG trucks are now becoming smaller and smaller, as is the investment. What the cheaper price tag on these cars now, we've had a variety of small vehicles with being equipped just as effective as SNG trucks now. So your investment cost drops from $700,000 down to about $30,000. This allows you to employ more vehicles on the street to be able to get to more places simultaneously. So again, not only are your satellite costs, your technology costs dropping, the cost of providing the service on site is also dropping. The other thing that we allow is the technologies spread spectrum is now becoming more available. You can see again the same RaySat antenna on top of the car. They're a very small footprint on the car, and it has the ability to communicate while the car is moving in the area of about 80 miles an hour. You can be talking on a voice over IP call, surfing the internet while racing to the scene that you're going to or the event. We also have the ability to switch beams, so depending on which satellite beams are in view at any particular time, and for redundancy purposes, the antenna can automatically track beams and stay on the network. So in summary, what iDirect has been able to offer is bandwidth savings, both in the shared technology that we offer, as well as the efficient, the newer and more efficient technologies have to offer in the DVB S2 area. So we've been able to optimize those efficiencies, reduce those costs. As new technologies become available, we've been able to add them to our existing hub infrastructure, and the same network management system makes it very easy to deploy these new technologies. So your investment in our technology will always be protected as new things become available. And the biggest area that I think is changing at this point is moving from a comms on the pause to a comms on the move technology. Again, allowing the people to start gathering information depending on what event they're going to see, download web information, download from the TV content information, so by the time they get there, they're ready to deploy their services. So I thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you, Bruce. Lastly, I want to kind of bring it all together, if you will. Today we've talked about IP modems for VSAT technologies from Comtech and iDirect. We've talked about mobile satellite solution providers such as Inmarsat, and we've talked about bandwidth savings and solutions that they're able to offer. And we've talked about new IP encoding technology. So as the compression gets better and the bandwidth is available, we're going to have less cost. It comes down to cost, and also be able to dynamically allocate this bandwidth where it's needed, when it's needed, and how that's done today in the news. So to bring it all together, I'm proud to introduce our sole broadcaster on the panel, Mr. Bevan Gibson, who is head of future technology at Sky News in the UK. His role includes keeping Sky News at the forefront of the latest advances in technology. Bevan is able to take all these together. Where I talked earlier about mobile broadband, standard definition, and IP to high definition, Bevan is the leader there at Sky News to make all these solutions work together. And so to give a broadcaster's perspective, Mr. Bevan Gibson.
Thank you, John. Use that one? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. as John mentioned, I guess we're the customer in this whole game. I've used the products that these three gentlemen and services that they provide, and that makes my life as a technology person in a news business or a 24-hour news business very easy. I mean, compared to what we could do a couple of years ago, now all of our bureaus around the world have 1 or 2 BGANs that sit at their disposal so that they can do 256K and I guess in the very near future the 384K worldwide. And it's all about cost, and it's about getting quality content on air from wherever you are around the world. So we look at new methods of how we're going to get pictures on TV and online faster. Traditionally, we would have had to send a big satellite flyaway equipment with trained engineers, I don't know, 600-700 kilos of equipment through an airport at excess baggage costs. Now, iDirect take this particular only a few years ago. I guess back at the discussing today, the look mark, it's still using. It's just we're using oversight IP based, and we're starting to using leased line connectivity around the country. Our content. It's a lot easier now for us to get a HD signal back from. We covered the inauguration earlier this year, and that just wouldn't have been possible using traditional technology. It involved IP over satellite, involved IP networks to get that content back in a cost-effective manner, and that's the key to what we do. It has to be cost-effective. We have to be able to provide bang for our buck. If we're sending a team halfway around the world, it's no good if we can only leave them there for a day, because it's cost us so much to do a day of satellite broadcasting. Now that same money goes a lot further, allows our teams to cover the news more in depth and provide a better product to the end user. I guess what we're after is the best quality too. So traditionally, as Frank mentioned, with the previous products from Inmarsat, you had 128K. There was a bit of latency. The quality wasn't so good. Now we're at 256K every day on BGAN in our organization. The latency, we use Slingbox products, so we're down at sort of 0.6 seconds latency plus the network time to get stuff on air. That makes a difference to our viewers. Viewers come to expect a certain level of quality, and that's only going to increase as we move forward. And as we start deploying things like the 384K streams, it gets closer and closer to having one device that allows you to feed content live, do store and forward, and as we mentioned, the mobile office. Everyone just wants everything from one device, and it changes too the type of people that we send out into the field. No longer we just send a satellite engineer who provides the uplink. We need to send an IT guy who knows how to look after everyone's computer, as well as providing the uplink over using a VSAT or a BGAN or whatever the most appropriate technology is. So just to summarize, cost for us is king. We've got to make the most out of the limited budget that we have for covering news around the world. We want to keep the quality when we're mobile. When we've got a BGAN somewhere in the world, that shouldn't impact on, especially when we're doing store and forward, the picture quality that we send from a BGAN. You can't tell the difference than if you had an 8 meg MPEG-2 satellite path. Obviously that's store and forward, and live that's getting better and better, and we're starting to I guess get cleverer. If we're going to send on a big story, we need to, I guess, take a judgment. How long is this story going to run? Is it more cost effective to do VSAT, 5 days of BGAN versus a week of VSAT? You've got to find the sweet spot. So that's, I guess, where our challenges are today. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Bevan. So that ends the presentation part of our session here today, but I'd like to open it up to any questions that have the audience for any panel members here. One question I guess I would have, and I could open it up to the panel in general, but I'll start with Bevan, is other than the satellite technologies, what is, say, Sky News doing example for delivery over 3G or any other technologies that are not related to satellite, and how are they delivering that video?
Okay, well, I guess it's a very good question. We've developed an area within Sky News that specifically looks at handling delivery of content via IP, whether it's live or whether it's store and forward. And so we've had to get specialised staff in who are much more IT friendly than perhaps in traditional broadcast areas of the business. And I guess they have to adapt. We do stuff over 3G, live content over 3, live. If you're sitting in a Starbucks with your Mac, you can do Streambox Lives these days, and the person on the end of the phone who's going to put that content to air or put it online needs to understand, I don't know, IP technology rather than if you go to a BT plug point, especially in London, it's a different set of skills that are required.
And what about, say, for example, content that's not delivered via Sky News staff? What about the citizen journalists? How do you take that in?
We try and keep that slightly separate from our news gathering resources that we use for our dedicated staff. We do have FTP servers that we open up to the public, and obviously via our website we've got the ability for users to submit their own content. It's not quite as seamless as what our own staff do and the way that they submit their content, but if a story's big enough and someone's got killer content, they usually get put through to the right place pretty quickly, and we'll get that content on air, because at the end of the day, breaking news and getting the best content to air is what we do, and that's how we beat our competition.
Thanks. One other question I have, and I guess I'll start it with Fred, is can you really use, say, carrier-in-carrier technology for DSNG?
That's currently being used in a demo right now. There's with a major broadcaster. And they looked at it as something that seemed like a natural progression. Again, it's easy to set up, and it saves even more on the capacity that they require. So yes, it's I see that happening in pretty short order. That'll be a change.
Okay, thank you. So, are there any questions from the audience that we have for any of our panel members, Miss? Do you see any use for WiMAX?
Yeah. Obviously, there's only certain cities in the US that have a decent WiMAX or a commercial WiMAX network. We're yet to do trials, but we're very keen to do that, and I definitely see it as a way of news gathering in the future. If we can stick a card in the side of a laptop that allows you to get 2 or 3 meg streams, that's pretty much indistinguishable using stuff like Streambox and QuickLink and Livewire, those sort of technologies. It's indistinguishable from a regular broadcast feed, especially for the purposes of news.
Sir?
I don't know yet. There are...
Yeah.
The question was, how do we see WiMAX progressing in Europe? There are commercial operators in Europe, but it's very much a fixed location. It's not like what Sprint are offering in the US yet. But I guess the European networks will, in time, step up and offer a similar service. But I think we're still a couple of years away from that in Europe.
Any other questions from the audience? I guess I have a question. I'll just throw it out, but it's a little focused. But why would a broadcaster want to use BGAN when they already have SNG trucks? I guess we could start with Frank on that one.
Well, my take on it is that there's a lot of news out there, and I'd say the more opportunities to be able to collect that news in some sort of timely manner is good for the station, good for the broadcaster, and good for the viewer. So I just think it just extending the reach and supplementing the other resources.
Bevan, you have any take on that? What?
I agree with that. I mean, you've got to have the right tools for the right job, and it's obviously very ineffective from a cost point of view to have satellite engineers based in all our bureaus all around the world. So we can give a cameraman a BGAN. Our cameraman would go to an event, set up a BGAN, set up his camera, do the return comms channel. That's his domain. Whereas if you wanted to do that with a traditional broadcast kit, you'd need to have specialist engineers at higher cost, which means if the story was not a breaking news event, the odds of it getting live coverage would probably be quite slim. So it's the right tools for the right job.
And I think, Bevan, you mentioned earlier that there's this kind of trade-off for sending a VSAT dish with either a Comtech or iDirect modem and versus BGAN. Is there kind of a point that broadcasters, obviously have to weigh these costs, but in your mind, is there a time that it becomes cost prohibitive? BGAN is very inexpensive from a capital hardware expense, but operationally, it can become cost prohibitive over several days. So would there be the kind of just a general frame where you would think, okay, I've hit the 5th, 6th day of a story now, it's becoming cost prohibitive? Is there something in your mind that you kind of go with, or?
Once again, that's very dependent on the story. Like, there was the Italy earthquake story a couple of weeks ago, and we sent a team who were doing BGAN lives every hour for 10 hours a day. They were there for 3 or 4 days. I guess with hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, it probably would have been cheaper to send a VSAT and book a month slot of space. The VSAT market tends to work from a cost point of view very different to that of a BGAN, but you've got to take that punt straight up and say, right, this story's big enough, I know I'm going to be there for 4, 5, 6 days. It's going to be cheaper if I send a VSAT, and I've got all the cost associated of sending an extra engineer, or I've got the cost associated of excess baggage to get that equipment there. Whereas, who knows with news? I mean, as soon as you hear something break, like an Italian earthquake, no one knows how long that's going to be a news story. No one knows how many injuries or victims there have been in it, and that obviously dictates the news agenda and how long people will find that a story that needs to be covered.
Very good. Are there any other questions that these questions have stimulated? Miss? Well, how soon do you think your backpack size, so how soon can you deliver HD via a mobile device?
I'd like to just offer something in that regard. BGAN does fit in a backpack, so it is backpack size. I really feel bad for not bringing one with me, but we're right outside exhibit here. You're welcome to stop by. They're small enough to fit in the backpack with the camera and with the other kit. So, largest one, 6.5 pounds, I believe. So very doable. Yeah. Now, today.
Now, there's a picture of a BGAN terminal that's used by Sky and others, but yeah, it literally is backpack news gathering, and BGAN can deliver that, and so one man can operate the entire device, and that has a cost, right? So instead of sending satellite engineers and all the equipment needed to do a VSAT, you can just send a cameraman who's a little bit savvy with a laptop, and he can get the talent up on the air to do the interviews.
And the kits that we send around the world, it's a wheelie luggage cart size, and that includes a Slingbox encoder, a baby P2 camera, and a BGAN, and enough cabling, and the only thing you really need is to plug into the cigarette lighter on your car for a power source if you're going to be there for longer than a couple of hours. But it's a wheelie or a backpack size. It's small enough to take on an aircraft.
And everything as compression gets better and bandwidth gets better, everything's getting smaller, lighter, cheaper, faster. And so what quality of standard definition, with an iDirect or a Comtech modem and a VSAT flyaway, you can now deliver standard definition quality with using, say, only 1.5 or 2 megabits of bandwidth due to better compression technology. So now that's become, less expensive and easier to use, and they will continue to get smaller. I mean, there are some manufacturers of VSAT equipment that are offering man packs, VSAT flyaways in a man pack. So you're able to do that same thing, and bandwidth is getting better, and allocation of that bandwidth is another thing. So you're able to shift to both Comtech and iDirect and Inmarsat. They're able to allocate this bandwidth where they need it, when they need it. And so that adds a new perspective. Is there any other questions, sir? Anyone?
I've seen ads about HD, but is it really HD?
Well, Inmarsat doesn't deliver live HD quality, but they can do a store and forward. So they can take a package, edit it down, and make it a clip, and then FTP it, store and forward it back to that. And so that is possible via BGAN. Obviously, iDirect and Comtech, also IP, they can offer that same type of thing, and they'll probably bigger bandwidth, so that will get there quicker.
John, I'll just add something.
Please.
Inmarsat is a sponsor of the Volvo Ocean Race, which is a race that's going around the world, and the vessels are now on their way to Boston. And the Volvo Ocean Race is using Inmarsat's fleet broadband service, which is really the equivalent of BGAN for mariners with a directional antenna. And they're using the fleet broadband terminal to stream HD video at a very low frame rate, obviously. The frame rate isn't 30 frames per second. It might be 6 or 8. But they've got the resolution, the same HD resolution that we all see, just at a very low frame rate. And then, as John said, they're also doing the store and forward HD clips as well.
And as broadcasters, we're testing exactly the same thing. I know we are, and other US broadcasters are testing HD pixel count, but it's much reduced frame rate.
Sir?
Sorry? Not yet, no. It's something we're looking at, yeah. I know that there's certain cameras you can get plugins that allow it, and video cameras as well, but it's not something we're doing yet. But our online team for sort of the interactive pieces that we do are very keen to sure. And you can do a search on news that's come from your area, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So when we do store and forward, send files, you can obviously take metadata that was acquired within the camera, or you can add your own metadata as it gets sent, and that definitely passes through any of these technologies. Yeah, there's a number of freelancers I know that have their own BGAN equipment, and I know we're in discussions with people who provide freelance equipment and sort of wet hire of stuff for us that will do iDirect and Comtech modems as part of their offering these days, and streaming content by companies like Slingbox, and a lot of freelancers are starting to buy their own hardware and software to do that.
Well, I would like to thank our audience for participating, and I hope you found it informative. I'd also like to thank our panelists, Frank, Bevan, Fred, and Bruce, for joining us and giving us their perspectives on DNG and how that's applied today. And again, thank you very much. If we give them all a nice little round of applause. And a quick shout out to Sweet Lou for being here too. Thank you very much.